Remember the first time you watched The Devil Wears Prada? Sitting there in the darkened theater, already regretting every mouthful of popcorn as you saw these reed-thin women in designer outfits and stiletto heels putting together a glamorous fashion magazine? I'm sure many of us could relate to the hapless intern played by Anne Hathaway, who seemed so out of her depth and in awe of the dazzling boss, Miranda Priestley, played by the amazing Meryl Streep. And frankly, who wouldn't? Miranda seemed like everything we're supposed to want to be. Formidable, unflappable, and always in command. Popular culture has promoted this notion that in order to succeed, you need to be ruthless and ready to bulldoze your way up the ladder. Sure, there's enough evidence to support that idea. How many stories have we all heard? Tell-all books about business leaders and celebrities who turn out to have a cruel streak. But want to know a secret? It doesn't have to be that way. Today, on the Gratitudology podcast, meet Lindsey Schwartz, a woman who took the wholesome small-town values she grew up with and built a welcoming, supportive community of powerhouse women. And she does it while looking every bit as fashionable and fabulous as Miranda herself. Because contrary to what you may have been told, sometimes good guys, or in this case, powerhouse women, do finish first. Learn how Lindsey earned her own power and helped so many others overcome their struggles to do the same.
When I was starting from scratch and my confidence was really low, she's one of the ones that came up to me and just said, like, I truly believe in you. I know that you can do this.
She just gives you permission to be bold, to follow your dreams.
Doesn't matter what the stage is or the room is. She's truly herself every time. And it's such an inspiration to other women.
From humble beginnings.
So I moved to Phoenix and signed on with this company selling commercial flooring products.
To an empire that thrives on being in fellowship with some of the most powerful business leaders on the planet. Names like Amy Porterfield.
I'm Amy Porterfield, ex-corporate girl turned CEO of a multi-million-dollar business. But it wasn't all that long.
Jamie Kern-Lima.
Hi, I'm Jamie Kern-Lima, and I went from struggling waitress facing nonstop rejection to building a billion-dollar company from my living room.
And Gabrielle Lyons.
Hey guys, I am Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, a fellowship-trained physician with a lifetime of professional training and mentorship.
This is a story of breaking out of the mold, transcending that label of vanilla and embracing that inner rainbow swirl flavor instead, and dropping your small voice in exchange for a roar. Lindsey Schwartz joins us for a shot of entrepreneurial inspo today on the Gratitudology podcast.
Will you walk through the fire? Would you ride through the storm? Will you walk on a wire? Will you save me if I fall? Will you break through the madness? Set us down where we're safe. I'll be right here waiting till you find me again.
Lindsey Schwartz, welcome to the Gratitudology podcast.
I'm so excited to be here.
I'm sitting in a podcast studio in the foothills of Arizona when Lindsey walked in and just lit up the space. Tall, sassy, with a 1,000-watt smile, and damn, girl was dressed to the nines. I couldn't help but gush over her look, a drop-dead camel color sweater dress with knee-high boots.
Well, we have to give a shout out because the dress is actually from a woman-owned boutique that's local called Girl High. So she's one of my favorite brands to support, and it's the most comfortable sweater dress.
But before we get to all of that, and the countless women she has helped to thrive, I decided to take us back to the beginning, when life wasn't quite so fabulous. I haven't heard a ton about your childhood, and I'd love to hear a little bit about it.
I grew up in Wisconsin. Arizona is not cold at all to me because I grew up in actual cold and snow. The oldest of three, I was always just the ambitious one. I just knew that I was supposed to do something really big. And when you grow up in a small town, like I did, there weren't a lot of examples of what that looked like. So I very much thought that my dream was to follow the corporate path and to build more the traditional American dream kind of life. I never knew an entrepreneur, never even considered entrepreneurship as a possible path for me.
Lindsey had a stay-at-home mom, and neither of her parents had more than a high school education. Still, by all accounts, it was an idyllic childhood. Loving, comfortable, safe. Yet somewhere inside of her, deep down, she yearned to discover what bigger dreams could look like. It was her college professor who eventually encouraged her to pursue a career path in marketing or sales. That led her to sign up for a competition that would change her life.
I actually won this sales competition called the National Collegiate Sales Competition. And as part of that, there were all of these companies that were recruiting sales students. I placed like 4th in the nation. It opened up all these opportunities for companies that I had never heard of, places I could move. It felt like it just opened up the world.
There is that moment in all of our lives when a door opens. And whether we realize it or not, we're faced with a choice to walk through it or go in a different direction. For Lindsey, it was a no-brainer. She was going on her grand adventure.
I think what I realize now looking back is this is when I was already starting to follow my intuition and learn. I just knew when something was right for me. So here I am, didn't even really want to consider a sales career, mostly because the sales situations I had been in on the receiving end, they didn't feel good. That's what my perception of sales was that it was kind of manipulative. What I realized going back is I had been in plenty of sales situations that felt amazing. I didn't realize I was being sold to because people knew really how to connect. So I think it was really at that point that I realized I'm actually really just great with people. I knew what the intention was, but I didn't have an agenda in trying to sell something. Somehow, deep down, I knew how to avoid feeling the way that I had felt in sales situations that I had been in that felt kind of ick.
And that's when Lindsey stopped trying to sell and leaned into her Midwestern roots of simply engaging with others, listening to their needs, and meeting them with kindness and humanity.
The ability to influence people is an ability to really deeply connect with them and communicate in a way that shows them how you can meet their needs. And that, I actually loved solving people's problems. I loved knowing that I could make an impact. If someone had a challenge, I could present a solution that could really help. A lot of what I learned through that process helped me actually fall in love with sales.
I love that idea because, again, when we talk about gratitude, right? Mm-hmm. What I often teach people is to show up with a sense of like, but what if this was just fun? What if you just went into it with the spirit of service and I'm excited?
Yeah. And the company that I ended up signing on with is the company that moved me to Arizona, but I sold carpet.
Carpets? It was hard for me to picture this blonde bombshell sitting in front of me hawking carpet samples. But the journey is the journey, and Lindsey was on the move.
So I moved to Phoenix and signed on with this company selling commercial flooring products.
Unfortunately, just as Lindsey was getting her footing, her new career hit a snag. Sometime in 2007, the American housing market bubble burst, and home prices took a nosedive, causing delinquencies in mortgage payments, foreclosures, and the devaluation of housing-related securities. There was plenty of blame to go around: the institutions, the regulators, credit agencies, and the consumers themselves. And even though the government tried to stabilize the financial markets, the sharp drop in residential investments caused a recession with millions of unemployed people, the collapse of banks, and businesses going bankrupt.
The commercial construction industry was one of the hardest hit and the slowest to recover. And I was the newest person on the team, so I was watching a lot of people my age get laid off because the construction industry was just really hurting. And it was the first time in my life that I started to think, maybe I should have a plan B.
Lindsey decided to pick up a side hustle. and like many modern day women in her position, turned to the field of network marketing. So let's talk about it. Network marketing, or multi-level marketing, also known as MLMs, refers to a business model that involves not only the sale of actual products, but recruitment of other distributors into what is known as their downline. There has been much controversy around MLMs as a whole, and lots of opinions on both sides. But actually, Lindsey had never heard these arguments going into it, something she's actually grateful for.
I didn't know enough to be skeptical, which I think really served me, because had I known some of the preconceived notions, I came in with a very blank slate. But what happened was I had started to do a ton of personal development. And, I don't think this is going to surprise anyone to hear that selling carpet wasn't like my childhood dream. But I loved the people, I loved the relationships, but I was like, I don't think this is for me forever. And I started to just have this thought that there are people who get paid a lot of money to do things that they love. And maybe there's something I really love that could be my job and I could get paid to do that. I really love fitness and I love being healthy, and maybe that could be something. Meanwhile, my now husband, he was my fiance at the time, had been introduced to network marketing through his coworker in Seattle and was doing a terrible job of pitching me on it. I didn't understand what he was saying. And then one day he called and he's like, well, I think I just joined a pyramid scam. And I remember saying, well, I don't know what that is, but you're a smart guy, so I'm sure you'll be successful at it. Just no clue whatsoever about some of the preconceived notions. And then little by little, he started to just kind of share his excitement and all this. And then there was one fateful day that he was visiting me in Phoenix. He was from Washington at the time, and he took me to an event. And I'm sitting in this chair looking around, and I was like, where have these people been my whole life? It was conversations about bettering yourself, or all these stories of transformation. And I remember inside, I don't even know that I had said it out loud to Elliot yet, I was like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be the best at it, like the best for me. I just knew something clicked, and I was like, oh, this is it. I was reading this affirmation every single day saying, I'm so happy and fulfilled to have started a business that combines my passions for personal development with health and wellness. So we really started down that journey with this idea of, okay, maybe we can help contribute financially toward our wedding. And then it eventually went on to do a lot more. And I turned in my carpet samples and eventually went full time with it. But it was the perfect bridge to the world of entrepreneurship in such a safe place, in such a place that was really rooted in mentorship. That's where I really learned about the importance of building community.
What does that mean that you started to succeed? Did you make $5,000? Did you make $500,000? What did that mean?
When I look back, my corporate salary selling carpet was I think it eventually bumped to $45,000. But I grew my network marketing business to the point where I was earning like $80,000. So doubling my corporate salary and doing something I truly, truly love. I loved health and wellness. I had a really great physical transformation. I even started down the road of doing fitness competitions. So I was visibly changing. That created a lot of opportunities for conversation, for people asking, what are you doing? And of course, really sharing the vision of the health side of things. Beyond just, the quick physical results, I was really passionate about like the inner change that has to happen so an outer change can happen. Both mind and body inner change. So I was creating a lot of conversations and creating community around that, because what I was starting to notice is the people that had the most success on their physical journey were the people who felt supported. So we really focused on creating that community environment around this product we believed in, this mission of feeling your best, and having that be the catalyst to just feel more on purpose in your life. Then translating that to people who also wanted financial results.
For many women, the main draw is that feeling of agency, of participating in a space that already interests you, and turning that into not only a business opportunity of selling products in alignment with what you like, but also sharing camaraderie with others who appreciate that same thing. For Lindsey, it was health and fitness.
That's where we really started to see the momentum of other people wanting to join us in the business, building the teams. But the other piece of it, I had to really confront and face a lot of the beliefs and the habits that were just going to keep limiting me. Like, I learned it the hard way. Yeah. Like a lot of pain, a lot of upset, because I was so uncomfortable with just standing for what I wanted. And I was just so afraid of disappointing people.
What Lindsey is describing is so common for so many of us. She's reverting back to perhaps a lifetime's worth of limiting beliefs. Keep your head down. People will judge you. Play it safe so you don't disappoint. This was her moment to shrink or shine.
I was still very much playing within the realm of what felt safe, what felt comfortable, what I could control. And I was in this season that I just felt restless. That was the best way I could describe it, where I knew I should be happy. I knew I should be really grateful for what I had achieved, but I knew there was more, and I felt unclear about how to tap into that.
Call it what you will. Fate, manifestation, or even just coincidence. But there is an unmistakable symmetry in how her burgeoning online community led Lindsey to the creation later on of her massive IRL community.
I was on Facebook and saw an acquaintance had shared a post, something about that she was doing a program to help entrepreneurs get their message out in the form of a book. The DM I sent her on January 10th, 2016. And it said, "I don't even know why I'm messaging you, but something inside said, hey, you should do that," which led to a phone call with my now editor, publisher. And it was actually a woman that I knew through some personal development stuff. It wasn't a total stranger, but she said, this could be really great for you to establish yourself as an expert in health and fitness. And it was one of those conversations where, have you ever had the experience where it's almost like an out-of-body experience? Your higher self is interjecting. So it was at the time where most of what I had built in network marketing was on Facebook, because Instagram wasn't as big at the time, but my early Instagram posts are still very fitness related. I had a very small audience on Instagram and a bigger audience on Facebook, but the audience that I had knew me for health and fitness. I find myself saying out loud, and kind of surprised me as much as her, I don't want to talk about that. Part of network marketing is sitting with women and men, I worked with both, and talking about their big dreams, like what they want to achieve, what they want to accomplish. And I've noticed this theme. There's so many people I sit down with and they see what I've been able to accomplish, at least the social media version that looks very shiny. And they'll say something to the effect of, "I'm so inspired by what you've done. I think I could do something of my own. I've always had this idea. I want to create something." But in the next breath, without skipping a beat, they'll start to tell me the reasons why they can't. They don't have the time. They don't have the network. They're not qualified, or they don't feel ready. And every single time we're having one of those conversations, in my mind, I'm like, wait, time out. Did no one tell you? Yeah, we all feel that way. Anyone you look up to who's doing these amazing things, we all feel that way. That doesn't mean that you're not supposed to pursue that thing. That means that you're probably headed in the right direction. And on the phone with my editor, now publisher, and she paused and she said, "Well, Lindsey, if you don't write that book, then who's going to?" Without skipping a beat, I opened my mouth to start to tell her the list of other women who would be far more qualified than I was. I'm not a writer. I started to say it and then I heard it. It was like that divine moment where God is like, yeah, are you hearing the same thing that I'm hearing? Because if you want to make this impact, you've got to go first. I just remember something else taking over and saying, okay, I guess I'll write a book. Now looking back, it looks like the dots connected so beautifully. I knew deep down that I was giving maybe 60 to 70%, but I got a lot of acknowledgement. I got a lot of opportunities. I was put on the covers of magazines. I was put on stages, and I could produce results that looked like 100% by giving 60. And I think that's the part looking back that I realized that was the source of the restlessness. That was why I felt unhappy. I knew I wasn't tapping into my full potential, and that's something for me that's a core value, just growth and really maximizing what I'm here to do, I was never going to be happy until I started to challenge myself. What's funny about it is I actually wrote the entire book and didn't have a title for it. The title came last, and the title ended up being Powerhouse Woman: How to Get Out of Your Own Way, Fulfill Your Unique Purpose, and Live a Powerful Life. It was the message that I equally needed to hear. And it ended up, there were parts of the book where the words came from somewhere else. I was just the conduit, and they were for me as much as they are for the people reading. But the entire book came together. I didn't have a title. And one day I was in a spin class. Sometimes like the most divine downloads come when you're just really sweaty and you're in a dark room and you're getting out of your head because your body is moving. And I remember I was like, gosh, I've got to turn in the manuscript. I need a title. And this word powerhouse just like dropped into my spirit in a way that actually shocked me. And I rejected it at first, because when I look at myself, I feel like very much like the girl next door, very approachable. And I was still very much hiding from my own full power. And I remember being like, ugh, powerhouse, that seems like so masculine, so aggressive, so not me. But what I realized I was really rejecting about it was I didn't feel like I was qualified to own that word. And I realized that was exactly why I was writing the book, were for other people that didn't feel qualified to own their own power. So I was like, okay, I guess it's called Powerhouse Woman. And then the book comes out. And the day it launched, I remember having just like this overwhelming feeling of support.
She was supported, all right. In fact, so many people from the communities Lindsey had built shared the link to the book that it hit the Amazon bestseller list. But even while she was writing this best-selling book that would turn out to be such a great help to so many, what's crazy is that she doubted herself throughout the whole process.
I wanted to quit. I tried to quit a few times. I tried to cute quit, as I like to say, because it was getting uncomfortable and because I was really afraid of like, this isn't good enough. No one's going to really like this. It's not going to help anyone. This is nothing new. And I just kept repeating this little mantra over and over in my mind that done was better than perfect.
I love this story because I believe it's a message we all should heed. Done is better than perfect. The voices in our heads telling us we're not good enough may persist, but we just need to keep going, to put one foot in front of the other, because if you quit, you're robbing the world of all you have to offer. To finish this intimidating project, Lindsey relied on the personal development tools she had learned, as well as her faith. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit just about how your faith affects your life? Like, I know that you're a very faithful woman.
I realized that up until that point, I hadn't actually created any room for God to show up because I was only operating within what I already knew was going to work out, what I already knew I could control. And it was the most deeply spiritual process and experience writing this book because I couldn't have done it on my own. So faith has evolved in that I'm actually deepening my connection by asking more questions and challenging my own beliefs and not just relying on things because I've been told that my whole life or I've always believed that. And it's actually created the most rich and deep connection to God outside of assigning that to certain religion, although I still identify as Christian if we're going to put labels on it. And if you don't have faith in a guidance system that just can see more than you can see, I think it would be really scary. So I feel a sense of purpose. I feel a sense of connection that I'm just a pawn in a great way that's a part of a much, much bigger picture.
And so she surrendered herself to this higher power while giving her all to birthing her book baby into the universe. What happened next is a testament to courage, endurance, and the determination to push on no matter the self-doubt that still lingered.
Right as the book was about to be released, like I said, I didn't start telling people until about 2 weeks before. And the way I did it was I created this little Facebook group because I wasn't prepared to just put it out there publicly. I only wanted to share it with the people who really wanted to hear it. And I started to individually invite the women in my life and say, hey, I'm going to create this space to really celebrate this thing I did and create these kind of conversations. So as the book was about to come out, I was challenging myself, doing these Facebook Lives and just in the group every single day to this like maybe 100 women. But I remember feeling as I ended it, that was the worst thing I've ever done. That was so embarrassing. I was all over the place. And you know what? I'm just going to leave it up. And I remember closing my computer, go to the gym, and not an hour later, I remember I was in the middle of LA Fitness and I was like in between my sets working out. And I had my phone and I had a Facebook message, and it was from a girlfriend of mine. She was a store manager for Lululemon. And she said, I just watched your live and I made my whole leadership team watch it. It was so impactful. It was so deep. Can you come and speak on this on Thursday? This was a Tuesday. Can you come and speak on this on Thursday? I know it's short notice, but I'd love for you to deliver this message to my whole staff of 50 people. So I said yes.
This yes would be her first step towards all that would come next. The warm reception she received while speaking at Lulu prompted her to host a little book launch party. Even though it was meant to be an intimate gathering, only about 50 people, she had never thrown an event on that scale, so she looked to other women in her network for support. Remember Lindsey's love for spin classes? The epiphany she had about her book title while in mid-sweat? Well, leave it to spin to get the wheels of opportunity turning. She was scrolling through the feed of another one of her favorite instructors and realized
that she was an event planner. And I remember sitting in her office and very much fumbling to describe the vision for this event. And I remember she asked, well, what's it called? And I paused and I was like, well, the book's called Powerhouse Woman, so I guess we'll call it Powerhouse Women, plural?
That's right. Lindsey's book launch party formed the foundation for what she ended up creating, a killer event series called Powerhouse Women, where so many others would discover their own voices and find ways to manifest their dreams.
The first event was September 2017. By February 2018, I finally said, okay, maybe I could do another one. Maybe we'll do a full day. And it was from there that it started to become something so much bigger than I could have ever envisioned.
This would be a good time to bring in discussion around how your style and your vision for your own style began to play a role in it. I had to ask Lindsey about her style, because if you've ever seen Powerhouse Women and her events, her looks are over the top. You can check them out on our Instagram account at Gratitudeology. So, how was this humble Wisconsinite able to harness her inner Miranda Priestley?
So, there was a point in the book writing process where I remember one day I walked into my closet and I had this thought that I'd never had before. It wasn't the same thought as, oh, I don't have anything to wear. It was a very distinct thought of, whose clothes are these? That I would look in the mirror, I'd look in my closet, and I just felt like the outside didn't match. I was not the same person. And around that same time, I had a good friend who did my eyelash extensions. So we would have these deep conversations while she was doing my eyelashes. But that day, it's out of nowhere, but it's really not, right? It was a divine connection. She said, oh, did I tell you about the business I just accidentally started? And I said, you did not. Please go on. And she is also a brilliant musician. She had been on a personal journey of understanding how style really brings out different energies in people. Something about their energy is different. And she was testing out this theory, being able to tap into different energies through style. She wanted to kind of bring that to the masses and incorporate personal development. I have actually done her program several times where it was this process of really being able to articulate who I had evolved to by that point, going further, actually putting words and feelings to who I could tell I was transforming into next, and then using style as a catalyst to embody that quicker. There was this story I would always tell about myself and my relationship to my little sister. So I'm 7 years older than her, and she is so cool. Like, she's still to this day, I want to be like her when I grow up. And I felt very different in how I present myself to the world. And the specific word I would use to describe myself is I would call myself the vanilla sister. Kind of like the bland one, the one who doesn't take many risks. And then I was like, ugh, that's not who I want to be, much less who I am anymore. And it sent me on this journey. I just started to experiment with wearing things that made me feel this new energy that I wanted to embody. And it was very much more bold and fiery and confident. And that has still to this day been a big part of my own growth, my transformation. But it's so funny now because, we have this annual event and there is a whole conversation in my entire community of what is Lindsey gonna wear? Like, who is she gonna be?
That's right. The vanilla sister had become a rainbow swirl style icon.
And we even have like this hashtag called Style Your Higher Self, because it's just about this idea of that next level version of ourselves. Even our clothes and the things that we surround ourselves with carry so much energy. And it doesn't have to be like buying a bunch of new clothes, but really intentionally choosing the energy of how you want to show up and then dressing that way.
I think, Lindsey, what makes you successful is when you bump up against these moments where there's discomfort, where other people just say like, I'm out, I'm tapping out. And you can recognize this is a moment for me to push past the discomfort. And those who came to her event series saw this for themselves and learned that with the support of these other women around them, they too could step past the lines of their comfort zones. And while Lindsey walked her own path of growth in curating these events, the women who attended were also growing.
Hi, my name is Christine Monroe. I am the founder of the Illume Collective here in Denver, Colorado. And I also am the host of the Pivot to Passion podcast.
Christine had recently moved from Canada and didn't know a soul. Nervous, she signed up for Powerhouse Women, not exactly knowing what to expect or if she'd even have anyone to sit with. She'd been to women's networking events before and found them sometimes to be a bit dry. It wasn't long after arriving at the kickoff event for Powerhouse Women to see that this party was going to be different.
The event always starts with a pajamas and Prosecco's. It's an evening event and you go in your pajamas, and it's basically an icebreaker event where you come in your pajamas. There's like beauty stations where you can get your nails done, you can get your things in your hair, and there's food and there's Prosecco, and it's just a great way to kind of break the ice with all the women there before we actually start the conference the next day. But I do remember just making friends right away and feeling like so included and so loved. And they do these questions right from the beginning where we're supposed to share our deepest fears of showing up with strangers. Lindsey's always big on go ask somebody or go talk to somebody that you don't know. So everyone's mixing and mingling and sharing their deepest, darkest, struggles and fears. And it really helps us open up and feel like more connected to one another.
Then there's Megan O'Brien, another dedicated powerhouse woman who hosts the Reconnected Mama podcast and also runs an event management company. She echoes Christine's sentiments.
Every woman I met felt like someone that had been missing from my life that I didn't even know I needed.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Really, sisterhood and entrepreneurship is tough sometimes, right? Did you feel really empowered to kind of speak, ask questions, get vulnerable?
You just have this sense that everybody there is being their true, authentic, vulnerable self. So it allows you to do the same. You can have those hard conversations. You can be sad. You can be happy. You can literally go through the spectrum of emotions because you're going through it together.
Well, it also looks so fun. And I have to imagine a lot of women, myself included, I'm a mom of 2 little boys, boy mom shout out.
Yeah.
But, you get caught up in the day-to-day life. And this event also seems to almost provide something that is this release.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
And there's Whitney Harfey, a lawyer who had decided to shift her attention to coaching and consulting female entrepreneurs through her own business called Gen 38.
And I had the opportunity to speak on a panel. And it's just, since then, I've been reconnected, re-energized, and just felt like this was a home for me, and I don't want to, be separated again from this community, because it's just so empowering and uplifting for women professionals, women entrepreneurs, just women in general. All I just felt was the love and support, and people that even remembered me from many years ago. So that was really refreshing. It helped me kind of focus on what was really important at that moment, honing in on my purpose and what entrepreneurship was going to look like for me.
Because I've seen it on social media, and it just looks like such a phenomenal showing of women, like really putting their best foot forward.
Oh, yes. It's definitely a fashion show. And I've seen the evolution of it from the first year until now. You see all sorts of things, from gowns to bright colors to really nice tailored, pantsuits.
And taking it up a notch, Lindsey leads a joyful dance sequence on stage.
And I just remember being in such awe, cracking up, because she's in this lime beautiful suit, but she has this long ponytail and she's dancing to Beyonce. I was just, the excitement, the energy, the dancing, encouraging other women to get up on stage and to really have that moment to be visible and show up. Even if they didn't feel fully comfortable, it really invited them to do so because of the way that Lindsey came in to the room and the way that she approached the stage and just had fun with it. It was lighthearted. Everybody else felt welcome to do the same.
Lindsey's enthusiasm is a spark that catches on from one woman to another until they're all blazing their own trails. Still, nothing worth doing comes easy. Challenges are inevitable, and Lindsey wants women to remind themselves that it's okay to feel overwhelmed and frustrated at times. It's okay, because those same things can only help strengthen your resolve. And as I've mentioned before, even those troubling times are cause for gratitude.
It's one thing to give lip service and say, I'm grateful for my challenges, but meanwhile, you're really resisting them. You're pissed. And I think it's okay to have both, like the duality of like, I don't love this right now. This is really challenging. This last year has been one of the most challenging of my recent years. And I'm breaking down a lot of patterns right now. And unless I was given the opportunity to feel what I thought was the lack of abundance, I wouldn't be able to have the gratitude I need to have for the abundance that's coming. And to have that perspective when you're still in the moment of not seeing the result that you want, it takes something to cultivate that.
This is actually the opposite of toxic positivity, which is when people are like, no, you just have to be grateful for it. Don't have feelings. No, you can acknowledge it. You can acknowledge that it sucks and that it hurts and that it's hard. And you can still be grateful for it, for the fact that you're trying, for the fact that you're growing.
I thought that meant I had to think smaller. I had to shrink the size of my dreams to fit within the comfort zone of the people around me. I still had the big dreams. I just didn't have a lot of places where I could speak them out loud. Therefore, I felt really lonely, and I was missing these connections that could help me get there faster. But I also wanted a place where it wasn't just about only sharing the highlight reel of these big dreams we have, because there are challenges. Where is the space where I can talk about how uncomfortable, how sad I am, how angry I am right now, whatever emotion is coming up? And I wanted that space for myself, so I created it. And the events become this place where every year we come back together and we bring our highest self to the room, but it's also a place for you to walk in as whatever version you want to be today. And I think to have safe spaces like that as women, truly safe spaces, is a really, really rare thing. And then, yes, to surround it with incredible speakers who are willing to be vulnerable and authentic and not just give like the rah-rah and the motivation, but share how they're equally being challenged right now, because it starts to bridge the gap between the people who are on stage and the people who are in the seats.
And part of what makes this entire thing truly fulfilling for Lindsey is seeing that beautiful evolution of this community. So what more could be next? Guess what? Lindsey is just as happy to be surprised.
The way we're supposed to create the future is we don't get to know. And that's actually been the whole story of Powerhouse Women. I didn't go in with a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, but I'm very intuitively led when it comes to what's next, even with knowing that I just need to clear space right now and having an idea of what's ahead in the future.
Being open to change, meeting challenges head on, embracing your biggest dreams, forgiving yourself when things don't go exactly as you had planned, and pushing ahead anyway. These are the things Powerhouse Women take to heart.
Be willing to look at the parts of you that aren't going with you. And sometimes it takes a little while to get to the point where you're actually ready. Because I think for most of us, if our dream of all dreams showed up today, we wouldn't actually be ready for it. So my work right now is not so much manifesting, trying to get it to come. I actually can feel that it's already on the way. My work is getting myself ready to still be grounded, to be humble, to be grateful.
So take a second to let that sink in. This woman, having grown up in the state that is, yes, folks, the home to the World Cheese Championships since 1957. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We all love cheese. But this woman, who not too long before this harbored serious doubts about her own worth, could step up on that stage, command and inspire an entire room, and show us all that if she could reach this point, then so can you. Lindsey Schwartz is living proof that you don't have to be an ass to be a badass, that your life, dreams, and growth are only limited by your own imagination. She took all her traditional values of kindness and respect and gave others the nurturing support that continues to transform lives. Huge thanks to Lindsey for sharing her journey with me today. If you'd like to follow her on Instagram, you can follow @PowerhouseWomen or @LLindsey Schwartz. If you want the spelling of that, head on over to @Gratitudeology and we'll tag her there. That's all for today. Remember, if you like what you heard, if it impacted you in any way, and if you think it's a message other people in your life might like to hear, I'd be so grateful if you'd give me 5 stars, leave a quick little comment. Those things really help. And share this podcast with your friends, either on social media or just word of mouth. I'm on a mission for us all to help each other focus on expanding our attention towards what's good in the world rather than focusing on what's bad, one person at a time. If we all did that, even to our own little sphere of influence, the world has the potential to be a much more radically awesome place. Stick with me, friends. I've got your back. We're in this together, and it's a great day to see the greatness in the day. See you next time. The Gratitudeology podcast is written, executive produced, and hosted by me, Jamie Hess. Sound design and studio production by Gotham Production Studios. Our theme song is Maze by Hills, sung by Nadia Ali. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram @Gratitudeology.
Will you walk through the fire? Would you ride through the storm? Will you walk on a wire? Will you save me if I fall? Will you break through the madness? Set us down where we're safe. I'll be right